In this video, I'll be testing the Tascam DR40X digital audio recorder. It's suitable for most people, but not for everybody. There are some settings that need tweaking and adjustments, as well as some limitations that I will point out. I'll be testing the internal stereo microphones, mostly outdoors, as well as the internal XLR inputs and phono jacks. The DR40X is a 4-channel audio recorder. It has 2 internal stereo microphones that you can use either on an X, Y or AB configuration, and this is what particularly attracted me to this recorder in the first place, because in this price range you don't have many recorders that do the XY recording. The stereo microphones are extremely sensitive, so if you use them, make sure that you have a windshield or a dead cat or fluffy, whatever you want to call it, because the minimum breeze will make this recorder peak. They're really sensitive, okay? They have a sample rate of 96 kHz at 24-bit and a dynamic range of around 98 dB, which is actually quite good before you start introducing any noise. The recorder also has 2 XLR to TRS mono inputs that can also double up as a 1/4-inch phono. In terms of the internal preamps for the XLRs, this is where I was really disappointed when I first got the recorder, because the input noise on the DR40X stands at around 108.3 dBu. If you compare it to the Zoom recorders, which are the competitors, the Zoom H4n, for instance, stands at around 127.8, I believe, dBu, and the H5 and H6 stand at around 120.7 dBu. When you take into consideration that professional recorders, they stand at around 130 dBu, you can see that there is quite a substantial gap. And at 108.3 or 7 that the input noise stands, it's really bad, okay? It's really bad, especially with dynamic microphones, but it's so bad that it dabs into the territory of introducing noise into condenser microphones. So I had to find a way to compensate for this, and this is where an audio accessory called a FET or a cloud lifter come into play. When you take into consideration that this recorder stands at around $180, a FET sets you back another $100, or a cloud lifter, I think, is anywhere between $100 or $120. So that's half the price, or as much as the price of the recorder, if you take into consideration shipping and the waiting time, and it was quite expensive. I did some research and I found an alternative. It's a Clock Technic CT1 preamp. This thing is tiny, but basically allows you to lower the input by a whopping 25 dB, anywhere between 22 to 25 dB, which means that suddenly the recorder gets into a professional level. And if you want to see the difference between having one of these and not having it, let me show you. So I'm using a Shure SM58 dynamic microphone, and this is my voice trying to keep it at -12 dB. And as you can see on the recorder, it's right at the very top. I can't go any higher on input volume, so this is what it sounds without any mic booster. Let me show you the difference. When I put the a mic booster, you can get a FET head or a cloud lifter. This is what my voice sounds without doing any changes to the recorder, by simply adding a mic booster. Now for me to use this signal, I need to now reduce the recording levels. So now this is my voice sounding at around -12 dBs. And whereas before I was at the maximum input or recording volume of this recorder, now I am at almost half of it, and the signal is substantially better. You can definitely hear how much less input noise is recorded onto the signal. As you can see, the difference between using and not using a mic booster is like day and night. It turns your DR40X into a proper audio recorder. And for the sake of 20 or 30 bucks, I personally think it's well worth it. I'll leave a link below if you want to buy one of them. I personally highly recommend it. But this is not the only good feature that I want to talk about this recorder. There is plenty of videos on YouTube about how to go about the recorder, setting up and all the menus. So I really am not going to go into that. Otherwise this review will go on for like 20 or 30 minutes. But there is a couple of interesting features that set this recorder apart from other competitors. So the recorder has all the same features that most of the recorders in this price range have. You know, you have all the formats, recordings, so you have all the WAV, MP3s, all sorts of range. To be honest with you, I stick to WAV 24-bit and your sample rate at 48K, you'll be fine. I like to keep the low cut at 80 Hertz, and everything else, it's nothing spectacular, anything unusual. I like to have my tone at the head for 1 second at -18 dB so that I can sync it in post if there is any issues, although these days editing programs are well advanced and you don't even need that, but you know, it's always good to have it. But the main features that I like about this Tascam recorder is the following. So you have 4-channel recording, overdubbing, and stereo recording, but the one that mono recording, but the one that I like is dual recording. Okay, so let's say that you set your recording on internal stereo. So what this does is that when you record, you have a lower recording happening. So if for some reason the signal peaks, you got a lower one running side by side, and that's extremely helpful if you are doing an interview with someone that has very loud voice, or the tone of voice changes, or you might be outdoors and there could be, I don't know, boats or sirens. You know, this is extremely helpful. Now in this price range, the H4n or the H4n Pro, they don't have this feature. The H5 and H6, they have this feature, something similar. They call it differently, but essentially they do the same. But the H4n does not have it, and that this can literally save your day. Now, what is really important is that you make sure that you set your input to the correct microphone, because otherwise you could go crazy trying to find a signal. Externals go, you know, on external in left, and one other thing is, as I said, the recorder is the inputs here are mono, so they'll be recorded in one channel. If you want them to be on both channels when you import it into your editing program, make sure that you put external in left and right, and then you come to MSD code and you set it on. I'll illustrate this now into my second point, which is what I said at the start of the video, that this recorder may not be for everybody, is the fact that the recorder does not have a 3.5 input jack. Okay, it has a headphone out, but not an input. So if you want to have, or if you want to use your 3.5mm microphones, you need to convert them into 1/4 inch. Now, as I said before, this recorder is mono. So if you're going to do this, you're going to use this adapter, and you need to make sure that it's a single strip. Do not get either one of these. Okay, these are stereo carriers. These will not work. Myself, I'll be using for this demonstration a wireless lavalier. This is the wireless end microphone. So I connect it. Okay, so if I come to rec mode, if I was to have it on, let's say, dual, but like I said before, only on left. Okay, so if I press, as you can see, it's only one channel. Okay, but if I come now rec mode and do the set MSD code to on, now if I press record, as you can see, it's left and right. So this is very handy. But you need to understand that this signal that is going to be recording here is mono, okay? So if you have a stereo microphone, this is not going to work. You're only going to get one channel, either left or right, usually left. So after I've tried it with binaural microphones, and you cannot make them work. For that, I use my H1N, which has a 3.5mm stereo input, and be done with it. But worth bearing in mind that the input that you put in here is only mono. It will not accept the stereo. There is something really annoying about this recorder, and that is getting access to the SD card slot. It's very poorly designed, and eventually you'll give up and find something small to try and pry it open. I really wish they would have done a better job, because it can genuinely get on your nerves. In terms of the rest of the recorder, it's plastic, high grade to some extent. The buttons, especially the volume ones, are a little bit clicky, and you can hear them in the external stereo microphones, but I find the whole thing okay, and at the end of the day you buy this recorder to record sound above all. In terms of the rest of the features, it's all very similar to every other recorder in this price range, such as the Zoom H4n, or a little higher up like the H5 or the H6. Obviously those models offer additional XLR inputs, but in essence the features are more or less the same. There are plenty of reviews on YouTube that you can watch going through in fine detail about every aspect of the menus. This review would go on for far too long if I go through all of those, but feel free to write me a comment below or send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. But what's really important is to actually test the external stereo microphones, because in my previous review of the DR40X, the audio recording was horrendous. So I'll be curious to see how the recorder performs outdoors in unpredictable circumstances. The last time I was here testing a Tascam portable recorder was the DR40X model, and it was probably the worst recording experience I've ever had. I'll be taking the DR40X to the same spots and see how it compares. I do have the feeling that it's going to be much better. So far I've taken it to a few jobs and tested in open fields and parks, and it has worked quite reliable. But look, the proof is in the pudding. Let's see how it works and how it fares compared to the DR40X. We're approaching the same spot where the DR40X was giving away interferences. It looks like the DR40X is better performance. So far the recorder is behaving quite well. It's picking up no interferences, where the DR40X was picking up interferences left, right and center. I'm quite keen now to go to the final place where the DR40X performed its worst. It was by far the worst recording experience I've ever had. So I'm very keen to see how this recorder behaves and how it compares to the DR40X. We can hear something, especially here. It was really bad with the other signals. It's nowhere near as bad as with the DR40X, that's for sure. It's a shame that it picks up noise interferences though. So who is this recorder for? Well, first we should say who this recorder is not for. Anyone using 3.5mm stereo microphones that wants to keep both channels separately, this recorder is not for you. For anyone else, unless you are willing to invest in a fed head or mic booster as showed in this video previously, I cannot recommend this recorder either. The input noise is just terrible. It's a shame that the internal preamps are so bad. On the other hand, if you're willing to invest relatively low $20 or $30 for a mic booster or two, if you're able to do that, then this recorder turns into a really capable professional recorder. You'll be very happy. It has high dynamic range. The external stereo microphones are fantastic. It's reliable. Overall, you will be very, very happy, and it will last you for years. As you can see, other than in that last location, the DR40X performed quite well in general terms. If you are able to invest in a mic booster, you won't regret it. It's going to transform your recorder into a proper professional audio recorder. All the other features are reliable. The external stereo microphones work really well as well. Yes, it has some limitations. It's not perfect, you know. It is within a certain price range, and I think it's as good as it's gonna get, especially if you're looking for outdoor stereo recording for an X, Y, and AB recording configuration. There is nothing in the market that is gonna beat this. Yes, it's a shame that Tascam didn't upgrade the internal preamps from the previous model, the DR40, but you know, that's just the way it is, and hopefully in the next model they will do so. But there is a solution. I will hold on to the recorder. It's gonna be added to my already H1N and H6. It serves a purpose. I do record binaural. So what I do is I do record my binaural into a H1N recorder, and then I use this as a backup stereo on AB. And so far it's performed really well. I do also outdoor recording. I'll put a link on the channel and some videos where you can see how well the recorder picks up atmospherics, and you can judge for yourself if this is something that is interesting for you or not. But look, I hope you find this review useful. You got something positive out of it. Feel free to leave any comments below. Thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel, help us grow, and allow us to keep making videos on a weekly or fortnightly basis. And we'll see you in the next video.